Get started. Good morning, everyone. My name is Norma Ray, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. We're happy that you all can join us today to learn how we can help you simplify the onboarding experience. As a reminder, everyone in attendance today will be receiving a voucher for a Starbucks beverage. Here at ESI, our mission is to simplify the employment challenges of business. We do that with our 3 value propositions of buying power, efficiencies, and expertise. We are a professional employer organization, and partnering with us adds to your competitive advantage, allowing our subject matter experts to help address your regulatory and compliance responsibilities. Before we get started with today's presentation, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Participants will be muted during the presentation. We'd like you to please submit questions in the Q&A section. A recording and resources will be sent out following today's webinar. And as a reminder, this webinar is not a substitute for any legal advice. On today's agenda is all about electronic onboarding. We'll show you how to enter a new hire via the manager portal, the onboarding process from the employee's perspective. We'll show you how to review employees' onboarding status and send onboarding reminders via the manager portal, how to approve an I-9 and I-9 document reminders. We'll also give you tips and tricks for managers and employees and provide you with resources that you can reference. Today's presenters are Katrina Warren and Miranda Abrams. Katrina is an experienced HR coordinator who comes from a hospitality background. She specializes in onboarding, PTO adjustments, status change requests, and phone and web support. She enjoys spicy food, and if it isn't making her break a sweat, it's not good enough for her. She also enjoys binge watching TV and has recently taken up an interest in the gym. Miranda is an HR coordinator with a background in customer service and has experience with many HR processes, including onboarding. She loves to cook and being able to try out new recipes, and also enjoys reading and spending time with family and friends and her 3 pets. Our presentation will begin with Katrina showing us the first step of the onboarding process, entering a new hire into the system. Take it away, Katrina.
Good morning, everybody. So as Norma said, we're going to be going over how to enter a new hire. So the first thing is logging into Prism as the manager. So once you log into Prism, you are going to go to the new hire screen. I have it as one of my favorites, but if you don't have it as your favorite, you can just search it in the search bar. And to add it to your favorites, you're just going to click on this actions, and then you can add to favorites here. So the first thing on the new hire screen is going to be the work location. So anything that is in blue with the underline is a quick link. So if you click on that, it will pull up all of the different options that are available, if any. In this case, we only have one location. It is our main location, so I'm going to choose that. Next, you're going to enter the employee's social security number. And everything that is in red is a required field. Anything else is not required. So we're going to fill out all of these required in red fields. So we're going to enter the employee's first name in the personal information box. And then you're going to enter the employee's last name. And the middle name is not required, but we do, if the employee has a middle name, encourage to get that. So in this case, I'm not going to put a middle name. Next, you're going to put the birthday of the employee. And then you're going to choose the gender. And then the ethnic code. And if you happen to not know this information, if you don't know the ethnic code, it will ask the employee to fill that out later, so they can also update this or change it. So next we're going to go to the resident address. So you're going to just want to put the employee's address. And we're going to put the zip code. So once you enter the zip code, it will auto-populate. If you happen to enter the address wrong, it's going to tell you, give this pop-up saying, here is the address that we found. Is this correct? So you're going to just go ahead and confirm or deny. In this case, I did put the wrong zip code, so I'm going to just go ahead and let them update that. And then they go ahead and fill out the state and city for us. So next, you're going to get the employee's email address. So this is important. You want to make sure that this is a valid email for the employee. This is how they're going to get their steps to go ahead and do the onboarding. We want to make sure that is an email that they have access to. So then we're going to go to the employment details. So the first thing it's asking for in the employment details is the company start date. So this is the date that the employee is going to start. I'm going to use today's date. And then it automatically puts the employer start date as well. So next we are going to choose the position. So again, all of these in blue with the underline, you can just click on, and it is a quick link to all of your options. So here we have all the positions available. If you happen to not see the position that you want to use for the employee, we can add positions. You'll just need to fill out a position form, and we can help you guys with that. Just reach out to one of us on the CES team. So in this case, I'll say that they are a receptionist. Next, you're going to choose the employment status. So this is always going to be active. So they're going to be an active employee. Then we're going to choose the employment type. So this is whether the employee is full-time, part-time, all of your different options will be here. In this case, I'm going to say this is a full-time employee. It does also have if they're salaried and those type of differences on here as well. So if it's going to be a full-time salary employee or anything like that, you'll want to make sure to specify that here. But in this case, we're just going to put regular full-time employee. And then the next required thing is going to be our benefit group. So in the, most cases, you'll just have one primary benefits. Some companies may have more benefits, so you'll just choose whatever benefit group applies for this employee. In this case, it's going to be just the primary. And some people may have division and department as a required field. That's client specific, so you can request for a department to be required, or you can also take that requirement away if you wish to do so. So just let us know about that if you have any questions regarding that. So then the next required thing we have is going to be in the pay details. So we're going to choose the pay group. So this is going to have all the different options if they're biweekly, weekly. Some may just have one. You may have other options as semi-monthly, monthly, things like that. You're going to just choose which one applies to that employee. In this case, I'm going to choose the biweekly. Then we are going to choose the pay method. So whether the employee is salary, hourly, commission. In this case, we are going to say that we have a salary employee for now. And then you're going to choose the pay rate. So I'm going to say this employee gets $80,000. And then the pay rate basis is how often they're getting this pay rate. So if I was to choose, and we do have this happen quite often, they'll put, some people may put salary employee and then put biweekly here. And what that will do is it's going to try and give that employee $80,000 biweekly. So you're going to want to make sure if this is a salary employee that you're putting yearly here. So it's going to be salary $80,000 a year. Now, if we're going to do an hourly employee, it does auto-populate the pay rate basis to hourly for us. And then I'm just going to change this to, let's say, $12 an hour. So it's going to be hourly, $12 per hour. And then you wouldn't want to change this to like biweekly. We've seen that before. So you're going to keep this as the hourly if they're an hourly employee. So I'm just going to leave it as $12 an hour. And once we have finished all of our red fields, we're just going to go over everything, make sure we entered all of the information correctly. And then we can go ahead and save once we verified. So we're going to get a message here saying successfully created onboarding. So if I try to look that employee up right after entering them, we'll notice that Stormy Apple does not pop up. So she is currently not in the system because she's still in her onboarding process. So to find her, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. There is a screen to find her. So we're going to go to My Home. And then you'll also want to save this as one of your favorites. And again, that's just in the action bar. And then for me, it says remove. But if you don't have it here, you can just add to favorites. So on this screen, this is directly what it takes us to. Right now, it's showing us the perspective for employees by status. This is showing active, terminated right here. So here are all of our active employees. So I don't see Stormy Apple here. If we're going to change it from the perspective from employee by status to onboarding task by status. So this is going to show us everybody who is onboarding, and I can see Stormy Apple here. So once I click on this, I can see that she has not started on any of it. And we do see that it says due today. So if she was to come in tomorrow, we do have people call and say, oh, I see that I'm past the due date. Is that an issue? It is not a problem. You can still get in and you can still finish your onboarding. It's just giving you the deadlines that are recommended. So it's okay if they do happen to pass that deadline, they could still get in there. And then you can also send them a reminder email. So if you notice that they haven't started their onboarding, you can actually go to this actions on the side and do send reminder. And this will send them another email reminding them to start on that onboarding. So to show us what that onboarding process looks like from the employee's perspective, Miranda is going to help us out with that. So Miranda, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you. Okay, so once the new employee gets their onboarding email, the first thing they're going to need to do is register for an employee portal account. So we're going to click this register button down here. And that's going to take us to the new user registration page. So just a tip, the registration does have some known issues with the Safari browser. So employees may want to register using a preferred browser like Chrome, Firefox, or Microsoft Edge. The first thing we need to do on this page is enter the full legal last name. So for Stormy, that's Apple. This should be whatever name is listed on their social security card or their List A document. It should also be the same last name that you entered in the new hire process. Next, we need to enter the social security number. And that needs to just be the 9-digit number with no dashes or spaces, and then the personal email address. Once that's done, the employee is going to create a new username and password. Now, the username field is not case specific, but the password field is. So they will need to remember exactly what they wrote here so that they can log in later. So before we move on, please note that this last name, social security, and personal email need to match exactly what was entered in the new hire process. If the information doesn't match, the employee is going to get an error message when they try to register. If they do get that message, the first thing they need to do is check to make sure that they have entered all of their information correctly. If that isn't the problem, they should get with their manager to make sure that everything was entered correctly during the new hire process. If any changes do need to be made, please contact us at the CES team and we can make those changes. So we're just going to register. And now we'll see this pop up. You have been successfully registered, and it's going to redirect us to log in. So here, we're just going to take our new login that we just created and sign in to our employee portal. So here we are. To begin the onboarding process, we're just going to click this Get Started button. And now keep in mind, all of these forms that the employee is about to fill out, those are going to be the same forms that employees are already filling out in their paper onboarding packets, just transferred into a clean, easy electronic format. So the first form the employee is going to see is the I-9. Until the I-9 and the employee information are complete, they're not going to be able to skip around and see any of these other documents. The only thing that we can see right now is the onboarding summary. And that's going to show which documents have been started, which have been completed, and which have not been started. So we can see here, we have not started on anything. So we're going to go back to the I-9. If the employee would like instructions for the I-9, they can click this link right here. To begin entering their information, they'll need to click Next. So the first thing they're going to do on the I-9 is select whether they used a preparer or a translator. If they did, they're going to click Yes. They'll need to download the I-9 form and fill it in with their preparer or translator information and then re-upload it here. If they did not, they'll just select No and then Next. Next up, we have the attestation of citizenship or immigration status. So the employee is going to select the option that applies to them, whether they're a citizen, a non-citizen national. If they are a lawful permanent resident, it's going to ask for their alien registration number or USCIS number. They'll just enter that number here and then select the type of number. If they are an alien authorized to work, they're going to select the document number they'd like to provide and then fill in that information. Once they've selected, they'll click Next. Now, this is a new feature. Employees now have the option to upload supporting documents for their I-9. That's going to be the documents that establish identity and employment authorization. This link here is going to take them to a list of acceptable documents. They'll need to, if they choose to upload, they'll need to enter either one document from list A or one from list B and list C. We're not going to upload any documents right now. All right, next we have the employee information. So all of these fields are required. So something will need to be entered in every field here. So the first thing we're going to do is write our last name and then first name. Now we don't have a middle initial, so we're going to write N/A. So any field that does not apply to the employee, they're just going to write N/A. Next, we have the date of birth, the social security number, the address. Now we don't have an apartment number, so the same thing here, N/A, city, state, and zip code. Now the employee is also going to be asked for their email and their phone number. These are optional fields here. If the employee chooses not to enter an email address here, it isn't going to overwrite the existing email address. It's just not required right now. Once all of this information has been entered and they've confirmed it's all correct, they're just going to check this box to electronically sign it and then click Next to move forward. Now we can see a preview of section 1 of the I-9. So the employee is going to be able to see all of the information they just entered typed out on the I-9 form. If they need to go back, or once they've confirmed all of this is correct, they're going to submit and continue. Once they get to this personal information page, they're going to see the information typed out again. Here, if they need to go back to make changes to their I-9, they can click Edit I-9 Section 1 at the top of the page, and then select this Edit button here. So all of our information is correct. The employee does also have the option here to enter any additional information like marital status, nickname. We can see here that gender is already filled out. That's because it was entered during the earlier new hire process. So all of our information is correct. We're going to click Next. Now it's going to ask us to confirm our resident address. So this is the correct address. So we'll click Next again. And now we need to confirm our mailing address. If the mailing address is different from the resident address, the employee will need to uncheck the box and enter the new address here. If it's the same, they'll just leave it checked and move on. Now we have the emergency contacts. Now emergency contacts are not required, but we do recommend that if the employee has an emergency contact, that they add it here. Once all of that's done, we're going to submit and continue. Next up is the voluntary self-identification for veteran status, race, ethnicity, and disability. So the employee is going to click on this drop-down menu and select the option that applies to them, or they can decline to state. So we see here during the new hire process, 2 or more races was selected. If that's incorrect, they can make a change. And then here for disability status, we're going to decline to state. Once that's submitted, we're going to move on to the general acknowledgements. First is the handbook. The employee can download a copy of the handbook using this link right here. They'll need to read through that handbook, and once they're done, they'll want to electronically sign, acknowledging that they understand and agree to the terms and conditions, and then submit and continue. Next is the wage deduction authorization. This is going to include a list of the possible reasons why a company might deduct from an employee's pay. Once the employee is read through, they'll need to electronically sign it and then submit and continue. Then we have the binding arbitration agreement. Again, the employee will need to read through this policy, electronically sign it, submit and continue. After that is the confidentiality agreement. The employee must agree not to use or disclose any confidential information gained while working at the company for their own personal benefit. They'll electronically sign that, submit and continue. Next up is the non-compete and non-solicitation agreement. Now, Colorado employees are not going to see this form, but for everyone else, they'll need to read through the whole policy, electronically sign it, submit and continue. And then we have the drug and alcohol testing consent. Same thing here. The employee will read through, electronically sign, submit and continue. And now we move on to the tax forms. So once that's loaded, we're going to click Start. Now the system is going to use the employee's information to determine which forms they need to complete. Let's continue. First thing it's going to do is ask this survey question. The employee will need to read this question carefully. If one of these top 2 options applies, they'll need to select that. If not, they can choose whether they'd like to continue in Spanish or continue in English. Okay, so we see here the only form we need to fill out is the W-4. So we'll click Start. And the first thing the W-4 is going to ask is if the employee is a non-resident alien. So we're going to select No. Next, it's going to ask if the employee is exempt from 2022 withholding. Now, the exemption requirements are listed right here. If the employee does not meet these requirements, they're going to select this top option. I am not exempt from 2022 withholding. Next, they're going to select their filing status. And then after that is the multiple jobs step. If the employee has multiple jobs, they're going to select the option that applies to them. If not, they're going to select none of the above and click next. And that's going to take us to the dependents survey. If the employee does not have any dependents, they'll just select no and move on to the next step. If they do have dependents, they're going to select yes. And then this next button will take us to the entry page. So here we're going to enter the number of dependents under the age of 17 in this first field, and any other dependents in the second field. On the W-4, each dependent under the age of 17 is going to appear as a $2,000 deduction, and each dependent other than that will appear as a $500 deduction. Any additional tax credits are going to be entered in this final field. Once they've entered everything, they're going to click next. Any other income deductions or extra withholding is going to be done during this step. It is optional. You do not have to do that. Okay, so now we see our W-4 is complete. If we just zoom in a little bit right here, we can see on the W-4 in the claim dependents step, our one dependent under 17 and our one other dependent have been entered as a $2,500 deduction. Once the employee has confirmed that all of this information is complete, they're going to check this box to electronically sign it and submit the form. And our form has been submitted, so we're going to click Finish and continue. The employee will be given the option to download their W-4 if they would like. If they want a copy of the W-4, they're going to click this download button. If not, they'll just continue. Now, some states may have additional forms that need to be completed. Those are going to be found here because the company that we're using is based in Texas. We can see the Texas Worksite Agreement. So the employee will need to read that, electronically sign it, and submit and continue. And that's going to be for any state form that's required. Next is the direct deposit information. The employee can choose to set up direct deposit now or not. We do also have a pay card option for employees who are interested. If they would like the pay card, they're going to click this link here and fill out that form. Then they'll need to fax it to us at this number, or they can email it to our payroll department. If they would like to add direct deposit now, they're going to click Set up direct deposit and then Add account. They'll need to enter their account information here. So the first thing it's going to ask is if it's a checking or a savings. And then they'll need to enter their routing number and their account number, and then select a deposit method. So they can choose to have a percentage of their paycheck go into their account, a fixed amount, or if they would like the entire paycheck in their account, they'll select remainder. If the employee does not want to set up a direct deposit account right now, they'll need to select no direct deposit and then acknowledge that they understand they're going to be charged $1.50 for every paper check they receive. Once that's done, they'll submit and continue. And now we have the Christmas and vacation clubs. If the employee would like to sign up for a Christmas club account or a vacation club account, they can use these links to fill out those forms. And then they'll continue. All right, so we're almost finished. Now we have the onboarding summary. We can see here that all of these forms now show as completed. So we'll click continue. Acknowledge that they understand the forms are complete and correct, and then submit. Now, once the forms have been submitted, no more changes can be made. If the employee realizes later on that something was entered incorrectly and it needs to be changed, the manager is going to have to deny their I-9 to send the onboarding back to the employee for corrections. And Katrina is going to show you how to do that in just a minute. So we're going to submit. Okay, our onboarding is completed. If the company has a benefits plan, employees will have the option to move forward to benefit enrollment. But for now, I'm going to pass it back to Katrina, who's going to show you how to approve the I-9.
All right. So for approving the I-9, right whenever the employee is complete with their onboarding, you're going to get an email saying, please approve I-9 with a link to the employee manager portal. And then once you get into the manager portal, it'll take you right to the approval screen. I first want to show you guys what it looks like once the employee has completed their onboarding in the onboarding screen. So first, we're going to go back to My Home. If you've already added it to your favorites, it'll be right over here in the left-hand corner, or just search it again. And then again, these are just all of the active employees. Automatically, it's going to take us to this. We're going to change the perspective from employees by status to onboarding tasks by status. And we can now see that she is no longer in this I-9 section 1. So we're going to change this filter right here to I-9 section 2. And we can actually see that she is now in this screen. Once we click on her, we can see she has completed everything. The I-9 has been submitted. And down here, we can see I-9 approval section 2 has not started, and it has not been approved to anybody. You can also mess around with these filters if you happen to not know what section the employee is in. You can go to all their forms, employee information, all these other screens. And then if you also don't see the employee, you're going to want to change it. Right now, it is only showing active. It happens to be a older employee who's been in the system longer. You can change it to the last 7 days. So you can see a lot more popped up that way, or even further, the last 30 days. So now to approve the I-9, like I said, you'll get an email. You can also see we have messages here. One of them says I-9 needs approval, or we can just go to this approval screen. So I'm just going to go straight to the approval screen. The first thing we see in the approval screen at the top is approvals pending assigned to you. So this will be any of the I-9s that you've already picked up and grabbed and need to approve. Down here at the bottom, we can see approvals pending that are available to you. So any manager who has I-9 approval will be able to see any of these down here at the bottom. Once you grab one, so I'll pick this one up for Stormy, and then I'm going to grab it. That's assigning it to ourselves. Once we assign it to ourselves, anybody else who has manager approval to approve I-9s won't be able to see that Stormy Apple's in here. So if for any reason you're not able to approve that I-9 right away, or if you happen to go on vacation or anything and you're not able to approve that I-9, no other manager will be able to approve it unless you return it back to the queue. So to do that, once we click on this, you're going to want to scroll down. And if you scroll down directly from this page, it's not going to, oh, I did it. Sometimes you just have to scroll directly from this page, though, to see these bottom options. So to return it to the queue, we'll just click this option. That way, all the other managers will be able to see it and somebody else can grab it if needed. So I'm just going to grab it back. Let me go back to it. So now we can see all of the information that the employee has filled out here. And you'll want to make sure you have the documents that the employee provided, and you're going to want to make sure that it is matching what they put here. If it happens to not match up with what they gave you, or if you happen to notice that they gave you citizen documents and they put that they're a non-citizen here, or vice versa, you're going to want to deny this. So that way the employee can go back into the I-9 and make those appropriate corrections if needed. So to do that, you'll just click this deny button. And once you do that, they will get, they'll be able to go right back into that portal and make edits to the I-9. So if everything looks correct, and you'll also see in the second page right now, it does all say NA. We're going to go ahead and fill out this information now, so you don't need to worry about it saying that. So if everything looks correct, we're going to go ahead and go to the next screen. So it's asking for the employment eligibility verification. Here it's going to give us a list of all of the acceptable documents. So if you would like that, you can click here for a list of the acceptable documents. It's asking for the first supporting document here. So that is the identity and employment authorization form. It'll give you a list of the items. So we have list A items here and some list B items, or all of the list B items. And you do not want to tell an employee which items to give you. You just want to give them a list of the acceptable documents and let them know what's acceptable, but you don't want to tell them what documents to provide you with. So in this case, I'm going to say that they gave us a driver's license. So the next thing we're going to enter is the document number. And that can be found on the driver's license. And then the issuing authority. So in this state, it'll be the state. And then we're going to put the expiration date. And then we're going to go to the next screen. So since we put a list B item, it's going to ask for a second supporting document. So once we click on the document title again, now it's going to only give us list C items. So you're going to choose whatever second document that the employee gave you. And then we're going to put the document number. So in this case, I'm putting a social security card. So I'm going to put the employee's social here. And then we're going to choose the issuing authority. So that can also be found on the social security card. You can usually find these on the front or the back of each of these documents. So then again, the expiration date, the social securities do not have an expiration date. So if it doesn't have one, you're going to choose NA. So we're going to go ahead and click this NA box and then click next. So now in this screen, it's going to ask for any additional information. So if you have any notes that you want to add, you can put that here. If not, you can just go ahead and move to the next screen. In this case, we don't have any notes, so I'm just going to go next. And then this is the certification. This is saying that you agree and verify that everything is correct to your knowledge. So we're going to click this box to electronically sign. And then we are going to put our title here. I'm using a different login, so it's using somebody else's name. But then you're going to just verify all your information. It's going to automatically have all of this here. So just verify that and then press next. So here it is just asking us to review the I-9. So we are going to be able to see at the top all of the information that the employee entered again. And then on the second page, it no longer says NA. It has now filled in all the information that we just provided. So we're just going to verify it one last time. Once everything looks good, we're going to submit. It's going to ask if we want to confirm. We're going to say yes. And then it's going to ask us if we would like to download or print from this screen. So you don't have to download or print from this screen. It's actually going to save automatically into the employee's documents. And I'll show you guys how to get there in just a second. So I'm going to click done. Now we can see that they're no longer in this approvals screen. Now if I look up the employee, we can see they're active. And if I go to that My Home screen again, we can see them here in the employees by status active. So now I'm going to click on that employee. And here we can see the employee's username, all of their information that we entered. and then all in the different screens, pay. So to go to the employee's documents, we're going to go to actions and then documents. So here it's going to show every single form that that employee signed and just filled out. So we have the binding, we have the wage form, the employee information, the handbook, and then we have the direct deposit form, the I-9 here, the W-4. So if you would like, you can click on those forms and download them or print them straight from here. And that's it for approving an I-9. I'm going to send it back to Norma to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you, ladies, for that very informative presentation on electronic onboarding from both the manager and employee perspectives. And it looks like we do have a few questions that came in. Let's get to those. First question, what if the employee skips direct deposit at onboarding? Can they set it up at a later time? Miranda, do you mind taking that?
Yeah. So the employee can add a new account or edit or remove existing accounts from their direct deposit at any time. What they'll need to do is log into their employee portal and go to the pay tab. And that's going to be where they find all of their direct deposit stuff. Now, if the onboarding process has not been complete, if the I-9 Section 2 hasn't been approved yet, they're not going to be able to make any changes to the direct deposit. So they'll need to wait until everything has been completed, and then they can go in and make those changes.
Thank you. We have another one here. Do we need to collect I-9 documents from all three, list A, B, and C? Looks like they're needing clarification for that. Katrina, can you help with that?
Yeah, so you don't need to collect all three documents. So a list A is a list A document is identity and eligibility to work in the US. A list B document is just identity, and a list C is just eligibility. So if they provide you with a list A document, that is both identity and eligibility. So you'll just need that one document, but if they only provide you, if they happen to just provide you with a list B and a list C, you need both, the identity and eligibility.
Thank you for that. We have another one here. Can we remove or add any of the forms to the onboarding?
So some of the forms in the onboarding workflow are required and can't be removed, but we are able to add custom forms or like additional forms. We can also customize the handbook. So we can either make changes to the existing handbook, or if the company has their own handbook they want to have added in, we can replace that. Your HR business partner can actually provide more information on that.
Perfect. Looks like we have a couple more here. Can we as employers add an additional document to sign for onboarding our policies and processes, or will we load it if we have them sign a hard copy? So I think we answered a little bit of that. We can actually digitalize them and add them to the onboarding. I hope that answered your question. We have one more. If I-9 is denied, will the employee receive an email to correct? So they will not receive an email. You will have to verbally let them know that they need to go back and make a correction. Or you can send them a reminder email from the onboarding, because it will move them back to onboarding. So yeah, yes and no, if that makes any sense. Okay, it looks like that's all the questions we have. Well, we want to thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning and to learn how ESI can help simplify onboarding. I want to thank our presenters for a very thorough and informative presentation. I'd also like to mention that we have a very special incentive that we're offering everyone on this webinar. We are offering a $20 Amazon gift card for making the switch to electronic onboarding in the next 48 hours. So contact us at the email shown on the screen and let us know you are ready to simplify your onboarding. Thank you again for joining us and have a great day. Does look that we have a few more questions popping up. We have a few minutes left, so I can get to that last question. If any of y'all need to drop off, I understand. Actually, are your past webinars archived so we can view later? I can get that answer to you and let you know where they can be found and send you that information. So once again, thank you all so much. I appreciate you joining us and have a great day.